Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of Guide Day here on BTL. And today we're going to go out west into the desert where not many people think about fishing, and once you've been out in that neck of the woods, you're like, they got some pretty cool fishing, and they've also developed some pretty cool anglers. Obviously, Arizona, you have Josh Bertrand, you have Brett Height, you have John Murray. There's a bunch of different guys that I think of when I think of Arizona. And I got to know today's guide for Guide Day. Well, we'll bring in Julius now. Just a classic vintage angler look. Every time I see you, you look like you've just been on the water for like 2 weeks straight and haven't showered. That's like that's just how you roll, daylight to dark.
That's right.
Thanks for jumping on. We're going to talk about doing guiding in some desert lakes today.
Right on.
Lake Pleasant. So what kind of area are we talking around there? Like how far away from Phoenix? Because the majority of the country, when you think Arizona, you just think of Phoenix.
Yeah, it's probably about 30 minutes north of Phoenix. So I live in North Phoenix, I guess you could call it.
So it's right there. If you're flying into Phoenix and have a day to kill, this is right in your wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Right before we went live, I wanted to make sure. So it was that the 2021 Classic?
I think so. Yeah.
That they had down in Texas in Fort Worth.
Uh-huh.
And we were all at, I was with a group of buddies at Billy Bob's.
Yeah.
The world's largest honky tonk, I mean, dude, have you ever seen a place that's that big?
I had no idea when I walked in there what we were even doing.
It is, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It's probably got 100 pool tables in it.
Yeah, it's nuts. Different bands going on and shit. It was wild.
Yep. I just got to see Turnpike Troubadours there on the 29th of December. Now, me and my girlfriend, we're the old couple, so we got a table and sat back and watched all the chaos happen. But anyway, long story short, so we were there in 2021, and I got into a conversation with a bunch of you young hooligans, and you were all Arizona dudes, and you were one of them. Who were you there to watch? You were there to watch someone that was in the Classic.
I mean, we were working, but we were rooting on Justin Kerr.
That was it. Justin Kerr.
With Gunner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I got to know you, and then is Gunner the one whose family is the Zoltar Empire?
That's right. Yep. Yeah, they own that deal.
Okay, if you don't know what Zoltar is, I think, does everyone know what Zoltar is? So this is
you just see them in like boardwalks, casinos.
Yeah, here it is. That's like the Zoltar deal, and you like put your money in there, and then it tells the fortune. And so like his family's like in charge of all the Zoltars in the world, right?
Yeah, something like that.
It's freaking crazy. Anyway, then you started fishing the opens after that. And like I said, I saw you on the road. You're always at the boat ramp. And every time I chatted with you, I'd always look on your front deck, and you would have like 15 to 20 rods on either side. And not a single thing you had tied on was anything that I owned. It was always like big baits, West Coast stuff, and Japanese stuff. Like that's kind of your like MO. That's how you roll, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Talk a little bit about how you got into the game in Arizona, and what made you want to jump in the opens for the last couple years and basically live a vagabond lifestyle. And then we'll kind of get into what you're doing now, a little bit more home base, a little bit centered, and guiding on Lake Pleasant and the surrounding areas.
For sure. Yeah. So grew up originally. I'm from Mexico, Cancun, Mexico. So my dad's in the hotel industry, always traveling around, and left there at a young age, but ended up here in Phoenix, and just always being into fishing, just figured out where to go fishing and stuff. And the Hookup had a tackle store on the lake, just like a small, like double wide trailer. And I just like going in there. My dad would take me in there at a young age, and eventually, the owners told me when I got old enough, they'd give me a guiding job. So when I turned 16, got my driver's license, I went in there and got my guide license, and they gave me a job. So kind of grew up in the hookup, as a kid, and then kind of started fishing tournaments and guiding and just, you know, doing everything I could to stay on the water. Um, and then, fishing pro-ams, West Coast stuff, US Opens. I think I met you at a US Open.
It would have been 2018 because that's the only one I fished
Yeah, and you won.
as a AAA.
Right, yeah. But I do remember that. So just fishing as much as I could, pro-am style stuff, Toyota Sears, Costas, whatever they were back then.
Mhm.
Um, and then I want to say in 2020, I fished my first year on the Bass Opens, and I was just trying to take the next step. Right, as a West Coast angler, there's not really that many things that you can do um, on this side of the world to make it to the next level. So I
Mhm.
basically just guided my ass off and did as much little side gigs as I could, along with support of some great people. And I took a stab at it and went out and basically fished them till this year. So
I mean, that has to be a gigantic both financial and time commitment. Like everywhere you're
yeah,
going is 30 plus hours away. And then to fish all 9, especially like this past year in 2023, we had like just like an off week between some. We had back-to-back weeks. We'd have 2 weeks. Like how many days on the road? Every time that I talk to your CEO, you're like, dude, I've been on the road for like 49 days or some ridiculous amount. Like you left and basically lived all around the country, not in Arizona during the duration of the last season, didn't you?
yeah, I did the camper thing this year or this last year, and basically, if we had 2 weeks in between, like it's really hard for me to, even if I'm parking the rig somewhere and flying home, like all those expenses add up. Not that there's expenses if I go to the next lake, and pre-practice for 2 weeks or whatever, or just ride around. Any way you cut it, the expenses are terrible. But I basically just stayed out there. I'm like, if I'm gonna invest in anything, I might as well invest in my fishing. So I just kind of nomaded around and bounced around and hit a bunch of different lakes and just try to get more knowledgeable.
How old are you?
25.
That had to be a massive learning experience, regardless of how the
Sure.
tournaments went on the water. You have to feel like you're such a well more rounded angler after seeing all that stuff because it's a lot different than what's out on the West.
Yeah. And that was my, big thing going into it is I'm just going to soak up as much as I can while I'm able to do this and just build my mental arsenal, because growing up out here, there's only so many things that happen, in like a full season circle.
Mhm.
Like there it's shit you always see. So out there, it was definitely cool to learn some new stuff.
All right. So you said you did your first guide trip when you were 16.
Yeah.
Do you remember that first day? So, like, what was your experience on the water? And then what was like that first day when you had like your first legit clients that just showed up and were like, all right, dude, let's go catch him?
So it was actually kind of crazy. So the hookup at the time had different styles of guiding, right? So they had like bass boats, like two people in a bass boat, like straight bass fishing, or they'd had like a Groupon trip on like a center console, like
Oh
day
boy.
boat. So just all kinds of shit, right? We don't do that anymore. But my first trip was in a center console bay boat with 8 people at 16. Never met any of these people in my life, and it was like a group trip, right? So like 2 people from this hotel, 2 people from this hotel, and like
Strangers.
yeah. So and I go to like pick up the boat, and like no one had used that boat in like a couple weeks. So like I need to like air the tire up and clean it out and like do all this shit and just nervous as hell, but I somehow survived it and like no practice, just got thrown into the fire. And I think, the owners did that on purpose for me to, can this kid hang? And I survived and I've been there ever since.
Were you live bait? Were you striper fishing? Like, what was the
Yeah,
target?
just spooning, like, dropping anchovies or like spooning for stripers. Like on Lake Pleasant, that's kind of a big thing. So whatever it took just to get a couple bites, on that style of trip.
You've mentioned the Hookup a couple times. You said it's a high end tackle store that also has like a guiding
Yeah.
attached to it. Or who
Mhm.
is does Bertrand guide through the Hookup some too?
No, he's
No.
got his own deal.
Oh, he's
Mhm.
got the Arizona bass. There's so many of these different things, but so there's a number of guides, and then uh, talk about Lake Pleasant a little bit. You mentioned that a couple times, but
Yeah.
that's kind of your home base. I know that that is a cyclical lake, it seems, based on water level, but a real gem in Arizona where Havasu gets most of the attention that
Yeah.
Pleasant has a lot of potential.
Yeah, super deep, clear water place. Like nowhere. I mean, I've had the opportunity to go to a lot of places in the country, and I have not been to anything that even sets up like it. It's all largemouth, deep, clear water. Deep structure. In the wintertime, you're catching them as deep as like 70, 80 feet, like vertical dropping. Pink worm, just shit you don't see anywhere else. But what's neat is, for clients and guiding, it's such a great place because it's so beautiful. Like you're in the middle of the desert, just like nothing you've ever seen before.
I'm gonna pull up Pleasant here, and is it all? So there's Phoenix right there, and then there's a couple other fisheries around there, but like that's Pleasant right there. So obviously
Yeah.
a man-made reservoir. What is it on any river or anything?
We have the Agua Fria River, but we have a canal system called the CP or CAP canal, and that's how we fluctuate the water with a pump system. But it's actually Colorado River water.
Okay.
That's how the stripers got in there.
So they went through the locks into Pleasant.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All the way through those canals.
So are there's smallmouth in there too?
There are some, but they don't get caught. It's not you don't see them very often. It's
All right.
all largemouth.
And then big body of water. I mean, you can't really tell based on here, but how big is the fishery?
It fluctuates so much, like in the springtime it'll be full, and then by the end of summer it'll be like 50 feet low. So
Holy cow.
Yeah, so like surface acres is kind of hard to land on, but the main body I would say is, probably 3 or 4 miles long, and then it has about 3 or 4 creek arms that, depending on the time of year, can go way back. And then we also have that Agua Fria River.
I see like Bartlett, Horseshoe, obviously the Colorado River, some other lakes around. Do you pretty much stick with Pleasant when it comes to guiding, or will you branch off and do some of these other small? I mean, there's not a ton of fisheries around that Phoenix area.
Yeah, especially with the guiding, you don't want to, go too far, and it just kind of doesn't make as much sense, especially on half-day trips. So Pleasant and Bartlett is kind of where I stay. There's a few bites that happen on Bartlett that I like to, prepare for clients, but other than that, I pretty much stay at Lake Pleasant.
Talk about the bite at Pleasant. What do you like to target? Kind of style, numbers, the whole 9 yards on a typical day, and then kind of walk me through the seasons also, because I know you guys kind of do funky seasons out there in the desert too. You don't really. We got 3 inches of ice right now. We're actually a little late recording this. It just took me 2 hours to drive 40 miles, but it is what it is. We're back here, so
yeah, it's like 65 out right now.
yeah. You're wearing a jacket,
right? Did I get cold? So basically, it changes every couple weeks. The fish are always changing, but we have a couple different types of clients, right? So with the Hookup being a pro tackle shop and offering a bunch of high-end JDM tackle, you get people that come in to visit the store and then want to come fishing with me, or we have a YouTube channel. We do a lot of informational stuff, a lot of exposure to baits that people haven't seen. So get a lot of clients from that as well. So those trips are pretty special because it's usually a guy who's interested in fishing, probably has done a good amount of fishing, and it's kind of like hanging out with a buddy on the water, right? Talking about cool gear and teaching them some electronics or whatnot. So try to focus on those style trips. But living in Phoenix, it's a really popular area, especially right now in January. We can get those 65, 70-degree days where you're frozen in most parts of the country. So you get just, hotel clientele or people just in for the car show or whatever. So get a wide variety of clients.
Okay, that's interesting to me. So basically you could have a guy come in who wants to, I mean, what swim baits are $100 to $500 now, depending on what you're getting. So before they drop it, they have all this stuff at the Hookup, and they can go out for a half a day with you and try out like clashes and all sorts of crazy. What are some of the crazy swim baits that are going right now, Julius? You've probably got 9 of them tied on right now.
Clash 9, that kind of stuff is,
and go out on the water for a half a day, use all this stuff. So it's kind of like going to the driving range where they put the tape on the driver and you get to hit the driver instead of just buying it and teeing off on it on hole 1 and then realizing you don't like it.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about getting into megabass rods and you want to just go all in arsenal, you come out, we go fishing, you get to use all the ones I have on the deck. and, oh, I like this one. This one's a different taper I'm not used to. And we work through
That's
it.
interesting.
And then I take you in the store, and then, now you have a better aspect of what you're going to do before you just go in there and spend it.
So it's kind of like a pro shop vibe to it almost.
For sure. That's exactly what we do.
That's cool. Are there a lot? I don't think there's many other kind of combination guiding shops that do that across the country.
Handing you $1,000 rod and reel and say, here, try it out.
Yeah. So that's kind of more for the serious guy who, heck, that'd be perfect. If you're in for a day of business and you're a bass fisherman and you want to jump out and test out some stuff, or if you're in the area and you want to buy some new stuff. Fishing wise, like, what do you expect? Like, if you're out to catch fish on Pleasant, like, when is the wheelhouse for that? And then, like, what's a good day on that fishery?
So right now, obviously, it's kind of tough. It's full winter, like we're catching them vertically, just dropping a drop shot, Demiki rig, that kind of stuff, catching anywhere between 30 to 70 feet of water. So, I mean, it's pretty tough right now. If we catch, I would say anywhere between 5 to 10 fish right now, I'd be pretty stoked. Some mixed bags too. Like if the client doesn't really, mind what they're catching, like we have white bass and we have stripers. So I know, where to go get a bite on those. Like same thing, just spooning or Demiki rig type stuff. I would say the post spawn is probably the best there. It's a lot of, islands, not so much like river ledges. It's a stable body of water. But a bunch of like underwater humps and points and that stuff. And when those fish get offshore, it can be a lot of fun. You can see 20 feet down, right?
Oh, wow.
And once that water gets real clear and you're catching them in 20, 30 offshore, just drop shot pink worm or that kind of stuff. I mean, as far as techniques, you don't catch them on anything really crazy, but it's a good swim bait lake sometimes a year.
But mainly finessey stuff too. So you're talking spinning rod, 5, 6, 7 pound test, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Size wise. So then in that post spawn, what time of the year is post spawn down there?
like I would say
February.
May. Yeah. May would probably be a really good month. We catch them in the spawn really well. On
bed, like, can you see them visually, look at them, or
it would be one of the best sight fishing lakes in the country. Like kind of hush hush. Like you can see down. I've caught them on beds in 25 feet of water.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's crystal clear. It doesn't do that year round. It used to, but now I would say about second, third week of March, you can probably start seeing that deep all the way through May.
Is it a good topwater lake?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. In the fall, you just throw a topwater like over points that are 25 feet deep, kind of like herring lakes, right? Where they come up and blow it, but we don't have herring. They're just largemouth that don't know any better and come up and eat it.
That post spawn time, then you book a full day and an 8-hour guide trip. You're wanting to catch them. What are we talking numbers wise? And then what's the size? Are there giant fish out here, or are we topping out at 5 or 6?
I would be pretty stoked on a 20 to 30 fish day, doing multiple things, when that post spawn, probably do some top water, do some offshore. There might be some bed fish still, type stuff, maybe some cruisers, like just fish that are shallow, but you can physically see them. Anywhere between 20 to 30 bites a day would be pretty dang good day. And then size wise, 2 to 3 pounders is kind of the average. Anything over 5 pounds is a pretty good one out here.
So you're not talking like a freak show fishery, but it's a very quality fishery that you can hone your tactics, learn patterns, learn electronics. It's just a solid.
Absolutely. I would say, like, me, myself, I'm a finesse fisherman, because of that lake. That's like why, I'm good at it.
We got all the weird stuff tied on, like 9 different types of Nico rigs and 3 different drop shots and 5 swim baits.
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely allows you to, get off the beaten path and try some of that weird stuff and, gain confidence in it to take it other places. But it's not a wide open lake. Like it's one of those, if we have a local tournament on Bartlett, we get 100 boats. If we have a local tournament on Pleasant, we get 30 boats or 25 boats. It's not people don't love it because it is technical, right?
Okay. But that's good if you're a bass fisherman and you're wanting to learn something and you're on a business trip or you're in the area and you want to get out there. That's like perfect, especially with that water clarity and then the feedback that you get. Do you want to talk about Bartlett at all on that, or are we focusing mainly on Pleasant? I don't want to
Yeah,
get you in trouble.
Yeah, Bartlett, like, in the fall we'll get, some cool bites in the river. Like the water will be flowing. Just go catch them in the current on a spinnerbait. Like we just did a video on the Hookup spinnerbait video a few months ago, and we probably caught 150, 200 a day. We had a big group trip. We
What?
took out, yeah, like just
So that's
smashed.
more of a numbers lake.
Yeah, numbers 100%. We took out a group of 8 guys between 3 boats on a guide trip, and we had 250 between the 3 boats or 4 boats. So there's a few times of the year where that's the place to be. If you call me, that's where we're going to go, but not all the time.
But that's primarily the fall, you said?
Yeah. Yeah. Typically when our season's over, I'll start guiding there, just make sure what's going on. And then as it gets colder and that water stops moving, I'll go to Pleasant and I'll have it all to myself.
So how far are you from the Colorado River then?
I'm in Havasu in like 2.5 hours.
Okay, so that's like just a little bit outside of the range of
Yeah,
of
and
your
I'm
neck
at
of the woods.
Mead, Mojave, all that stuff in like 3.5.
Do you do the swim bait stuff? Like if I wanted to book you for a day and say, hey man, I've heard about all this stuff, I want to see how it goes down. Is that kind of your wheelhouse too?
Like I can do it. I'm knowledgeable enough. There's obviously a few guys out here that like that's all they breathe. One of the guys that works with us, Jeff, he's got a YouTube deal, Jeffrey the King or whatever.
He's that dude's out there?
Yeah, so he works with the Hookup. He's one of our main camera guys. He's a super cool dude. That's what he lives and breathes. He doesn't guide it, but like he's as far as knowledgeable, he's the man.
Isn't Jeffrey spelled weird?
Yeah, GEO
F out of GEOFFREYTHEKING. Yeah, he does like really, really cool swim bait videos on Instagram.
Yeah, he's definitely the man with that stuff. But like if you called, like the Hookup carries all that gear, right? All the big swim bait stuff. So I'm knowledgeable enough to where if you're like, hey, let's I want to come and cast some swim baits around and try the gear. I bring the gear and I can probably give you what you're looking for.
All right. And then the best way to get a hold of you is what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Direct, it would just be, just DM me on Instagram and we can talk about dates and stuff or whatever. But mainly it's all through the Hookup. So if you get a hold of me, I'm just gonna put you in contact or I'll personally book it through the Hookup. If you just want to talk to me prior to so you know what you're getting yourself into.
All right. And then your Instagram, Facebook, that type of handles?
Yeah, just Julius Mazy Fishing.
That's a cool first name. And you were born in Cancun. You ever go back to Cancun? Like the Cancun, Mexico?
Yeah, I try to go at least once a year. I got a bunch of family out there, so try to do some fishing when I go.
All right. That's a fun place to guide. Weather-wise, do you still guide in the summertime? Is that kind of a downtime? Like when would you say the best to not like just burn your face off or freeze is to fish out there? Or does the bite get good in the summertime and can you stay warm with the dry or stay cool with the dry heat?
Summer's kind of, fishing the opens and, the summer's typically not the best because we do have those 110-degree days. I would say our season is between like January and May. Like that's kind of where it stays. And if I have events, I go fish my events. And then if I do have a couple weeks, I typically try to be here to do some guiding.
Cool. Yeah, the Hookup's more like some just high-end JDM weird stuff that you've never seen before.
That's right.
And if you want to take a gander on any of that stuff on the water, then you do a 4-hour trip.
Yeah, I would do 4-hour and 8-hour, so 2 half day and full day. Whatever. Just I always talk to the client prior and just kind of get a feel for them and kind of read the person and make sure I have the right stuff on the deck or I'm gonna provide the right trip for the client.
Is the striper fishing good out there?
It can be, yeah. So they boil really good. I want to say like those first couple of weeks of May is when it gets really good. And you'll just be driving down the lake. I'll be driving into a cut and they'll just go bananas and pull over and catch them on whatever.
Is that like a 50 to 100 fish day if you hit it right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely get into those double-digit numbers, triple-digit numbers.
Huh. Are they the long, lean one? Like so on Mead when I was there, you would hook some they would just be absolute tanks, but then most of them looked like a freaking muskie. Like
Yeah,
they were like long and lean.
that's it. Yeah, they're those super long, scrawny Colorado River ones. They just go, 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 go.
That's interesting. Not fishing the opens this year, but you are jumping into the new it's not new, I'd say revamped one
Yeah.
bass series. Talk about your decision not to fish the EQs. Did that just come down to a timing deal or focusing on guiding, or kind of what was behind that?
Yeah, so the whole idea was, staying home this year is I want to move back to Alabama next year.
Mm-hmm.
So my girlfriend, been dating her for 7 years. She's a nurse, and she's gonna do her travel deal. So for her to do that, she needed one more year here. So I was like, you know what, it's probably a good idea. Had a tough year on the opens last year. I'm like, I'm gonna stay home, guide, bust my ass, and then fish the 5 one bass, and then also do maybe the 3 Western Toyotas, just so I want to fish at least 8 or 9 events. I've been
Mm-hmm.
fishing that many for like 4 years. So, gonna do those, and then I want to say like December 24, January 25, gonna make a move to probably Alabama and fish the opens again.
That's cool. What are we fishing out of? If you come and jump in the boat with you, talk about kind of the vessel.
Yeah, so Skeeter Yamaha, been with them for the last couple of years. Gonna fish in a FXR 21, fully loaded, Garmin trolling motor, Garmin Panoptics, all the best stuff, 2 live scopes, you know, all the most innovative stuff on the boat. Everything's dialed, and then of course gear wise, it's going to be all high end Megabass, Daiwa, all top of the line stuff.
All JDM stuff.
All JDM, hard to find, cool shit.
What's the what would you say, like, if you were to pick out 3 really cool JDM baits that the average guy, say in central Oklahoma,
Yeah.
might not know about, but that plays, like what's kind of on the radar now? Because we're learning about a lot of stuff, but it's primarily based on which Japanese angler beats everyone by 20 pounds on the Elite Series.
Yeah, I mean, dude, like
What's up and coming?
that OSP dice. Have you seen that? Have you heard about that?
Yeah, that's the fuzzy dice.
That's right. So, I mean, dude,
You've actually thrown the fuzzy dice?
Okay, I got a funny story. It's my rod's over there, but
if you have one with the rod, you can go grab it for a second. I don't care.
Yeah,
because I would love to see how this fuzzy dice thing works. Is this something that, like, I could hire you to teach me how to fish the OSP dice? Oh, he can't hear me now. He's going to get the fuzzy dice rod.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that much about it. Like, I just, I'm exposed to all this stuff.
Have you caught a fish on it?
Yeah, I've caught a couple on it. So it's a funny story. So I fished at a local team tournament Saturday, and I was putting the boat on the trailer, and I look, and there's like all these, dude, like probably 20 3 to 5 pounders nosed up on the bank, and there's a bunch of baby tilapia, and they're just like, it's the only place in the lake that I know they're doing that. And I'm like, it was so weird because they're all deep. Like, it was just like a strange thing. So I'm talking with my buddy, one of the camera guys for the hookup, and he's like, dude, the only way we can catch those like is on that dice, because they're just cruising. Like, you can physically see them. They're in like 2 feet of water. So I'm like, I don't know. So I tied it on. I have it tied on from this weekend, but it's just this.
So that's just a drop shot hook. It looks like maybe a
Yeah, it's a Nico hook. Like, I just grabbed, like I said, I don't know much about it. I just
like a little Nico hook, and then the OSP dice, and they'd swim over and eat it.
Yeah, it's like a Cinco. So like, I just seen one cruising, and I just flicked it to it, and like, so when you twitch it like this, it stops in place like immediately. Like all those hairs allow it to just put the brakes on it. And so if they see it and they swim up to it, when you do that twitch thing, instead of a Cinco like shimmying down, this thing just stops in front of their face and they grab it. I don't know. It's new. I'm still learning how to use it, but the fish like it, and it's pretty neat.
All right, what's a couple other JDM things that you've got in your back pocket that you use out in Arizona?
I mean, like some simple ones, dude, like that people don't think about. So like a OSP, just like their soft plastics, right? Like a dough live stick, or, their worm. Basically it's a fluke style bait, or, like a Demiki style bait, or even their worm. I just drop shot it. Just try to keep, it looks just like a worm, but something that the fish haven't seen, a little bit different, you know.
I'm trying to pull up OSP here, but I think the website's in Japanese.
You can always find that stuff on our website.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, they've got all the ones that are like the weird crawfish looking plastics. They got a ton of those, don't they?
Yeah, they got a lot of weird stuff too, but like I like, we catch them on a pink worm, right? All over the country.
Yeah.
Like I like throwing, if there's a pink worm that no one's really thrown, or a unique Japanese company has, like I'll throw that. I'm not really into the bug stuff or the really weird stuff. I keep it practical. If I see a beaver style bait that, just has something a little bit different to it from a company you can't pronounce, like I'll try it,
Mm-hmm. For those who don't know, OSP stands for Osprey Spiritual Performer.
That's right.
Which I always, obviously the first one that kind of went mainstream in my opinion would be the shower blows.
That's an evergreen
bait. Yeah, that's an evergreen bait.
Yeah.
But just like the weird names for them, but like the company Osprey Spiritual Performer, OSP. Yeah. Do you have any clue what the heck that stands for or is supposed to stand for?
I don't. My boss would definitely know. He's good buddies with Miki, but that's out of my pay grade.
I love it. You're starting the first one bass tournament like next week, right?
Yeah, I leave on Wednesday. I'm literally like, my computer's on the deck of the boat and there's just shit everywhere.
Okay, so this airs on Friday, so you'll be down there when this airs.
Yeah. So heading to Shasta. Been there a couple times. Been there once as a co-angler, once as a boater. So excited to get back. I don't think I've been there since 2016 for like a Wild West Pro-Am or whatever.
Is that a spotted bass deal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all spots. But they don't know they're spots. Like, because there's no herring, like they're like, they think they're largemouth. Like you can catch them on the bank, like winding and stuff.
Really? Are they the same spots that are in the like Northern California lakes that get Mondo?
Yeah, I mean Shasta is NorCal. Those are the ones like they'll be a 7-8 pounder caught probably. There was a Pro-Am 2 weeks ago and it was snowing. There's like snow on people's decks, and I think there was a 7 pounder weighed in.
Wow. I'm pulling it up here on One Bass. So
it was like a new gen last week.
I got you. There's Shasta, Havasu, Mead, and Clear Lake.
Yeah.
So they are going to go back to Mead. How far are you from Mead?
Like 3.5 hours.
You fish there a bunch?
Yeah. I've fished there a lot.
Can you get a boat on it now? I heard it's coming up.
Yeah. You can put in at Colville. I think it's like just like a single lane. So I'm pretty sure what they're doing is they're having this event to see how well it goes, to see if they can do the U.S. Open there in 2025.
Oh, that would be cool. I think. Yeah. What are your thoughts? I mean, you say you fish the U.S. Open. Have you fished it on both sides, boater and co?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on? I mean, do you think the U.S. Open belongs at Mead?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the event. Like, I think what makes it the U.S. Open, I think, is Lake Mead. It's just such a marathon style, and I fished it from when it was like the second week of September. Which, if you see that open that's going there, is like the original week that the U.S. Open. I fished my first U.S. Open when I was 13.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Who'd you draw?
Shit. I'd have to think about it. A bunch of just local Nevada guys.
Okay. Have you ever drawn like any of the U.S. Open legends?
No, I don't think.
So I got lucky as hell drawing Salvucci and Matt Shura for the 2 days and then having the third day canceled.
Yeah, those are definitely good draws. Yeah. I always got like local SoCal guys or, Nevada guys, nothing crazy. Like put up good bags because I got locals, right? But never anyone where I was always trying to, wanting to draw Aaron or Rick or someone like that.
Yeah. But you're committed to all 5 of those.
What's that?
You're committed to all 4 of those events and then the U.S. Open at the end too.
Yeah, I'm in. I got a sponsor for all 5 of those, PHX Marine, so I'm all paid and committed to those. So,
what do you think the West needs to do to keep the numbers up? Julius, you talk to a lot of guys. You're kind of in the industry. You guide, you tournament fish. That seems to be the one kind of hiccup is when stuff comes out. There's a core group of locals that really support it, that are there for everything, but those numbers, like you see in Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, or Florida, are hard to maintain out on the West Coast.
Yeah, I would say, giving these guys a place to go, right? So I think definitely having the ability to qualify for the Classic or that Bass Nation National Championship is a huge deal for us here because, usually you spend, all this time and all this money to fish, a circuit, but at the end of that, there's no next level, right? So I feel like a lot of talent stays hidden because there's no avenue that if they decide to fish those 5 Western tournaments, which is already a big commitment, like, you're still talking 15-hour drives for some guys and, a lot of time that they should be able to go somewhere at the end of that. So I think you're going to see at the end of this year a few names that have been kind of held in the closet for a while are going to poke out because of this opportunity.
And one of them is going to go to the Classic too, especially with their
Right.
partnership with Bass. I think there's some Angler of the Years, or if you win a tournament, you go straight to the Bass Nation National Championship, which is now 250 anglers, the top like 20% from each region. They're still doing it where the top 3 then go to the following year's Bassmaster Classic, and the winner gets to go on the Elite Series. So even though you're not fishing the Opens this year, you're technically still alive to make the
Yeah, I know,
Bassmaster
man.
Elite Series.
I was pretty stoked to see that. I was kind of bummed out, like, it was, a good business decision, but I was like, man, I still want to, wear that patch. And then, so it's cool to still have that avenue.
Talk a little bit about your relationship with Brett Height, then Arizona guy. Like I said, I had him on last year, and
Yeah.
I've been bugging him for the last year and a half to get the Imodium AD Chewables jersey that he sported on the FLW tour. He claims that he can't find it, but I've got a spot right there in the studio. I want to put it right next to. I've got a Harold Allen jersey from like the 1980s. That's like teal and white. I've got a Frank Scalish jersey. And I've got a Charlie Hartley jersey. And I just think that Imodium AD Chewables would fit in nicely with that trio.
For sure. It would definitely fit in there.
I mean, you guys seem to be buddies.
Yeah,
every time I call him, like he seems like is a little bit of a mentor type deal there.
Yeah, for sure. We grew up, or I grew up around him. He lives probably 2 streets over.
So. Oh, really? I didn't realize. So you guys are like literally neighbors.
Literally neighbors. Yeah. He's one of my
Would you
best
bug
friends.
him as like a little kid?
Yeah. So like, I think I want to say like 10 or like 15 years ago, like he was like selling some rods or some shit. And like my dad like hit him up. And then, that's how I got introduced to him. And then we just kind of like hit it off. And then, just kind of became buddies. And then once I became more of like, an adult and could actually hang out and, we really hit it off. But he's been like one of my best friends for like 10 years.
That's cool. Yeah, he's quietly about to embark on all 9 opens. He hasn't said much about it.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how he does.
Will just who you want to go have to fish against in Florida to start things off. Old Brett Height. And Brandon McMillan and Cody Meyer and Dakota Ebear, and that is a strong field this year, Julius.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking at the roster like, woo, it's gonna be crazy.
Anything else that you want to get in here as far as the guiding goes for people who might be in that Phoenix area? I know there's a lot of businessmen, a lot of people around that area. You might come in to get the opportunity to jump in the boat for either a half a day or a day. From what I'm getting, like if you're a serious angler, I would want to go check out some of the newer baits, some of the swim baits, some of the JDM stuff. If I'm thinking of buying a $500 to $1,000 rod, do a half day, that seems to be kind of your wheelhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're in the air about all of it, coming and checking out the store for at least a day, and I can always come down there and hang out. Like it will really open your mind to all this stuff and not just looking at all the stuff online, not knowing what to order. Like if you really want to get educated on it, it's worth to come out, take the trip, and then you're better off going fishing first. Have an idea of what you want to learn. We go fishing and then we walk into the store. So when you walk in, you don't go, oh my gosh, where do I start?
I do see you do have my favorite color of Edo Vision 110.
Yeah.
Akatora.
Akatora, yep.
You ever thrown that
Yeah.
monstrosity?
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah, it's all right. It catches them.
They'll eat the heck out of that one. I have a couple of those stashed in the corner of the box.
Yeah.
So
orange and red.
it is. What are your are you just a pink drop shot worm guy, or you got any secret color? There's only like 5 people listening to this. You got any secret drop shot worm colors that I need to be on?
I mean, dude, not really. Like, I just throw the basic stuff. I will say plum berry is kind of a sneaky one, like especially spots. Like, I like that. I mean, it sounds stupid. It's basically a morning dawn worm with a purple tail, but that plum berry's money when we go spotted bass lakes.
Heck yeah, I'll have to keep that in mind. We got a couple spotted bass lakes.
Yeah. I like a red flake in my morning dawn. I just don't like regular. I don't know if that means anything to you. But
do you ever go? So you're like the morning dawn red flake. Do you ever go Aaron's morning dawn?
Sometimes Aaron's morning dawn. What's that?
White belly.
White belly. So here, I designed this worm for the hookup. So here, I'll grab a 6-inch. So around the shop, everyone calls me hippie, right? And then like I was like, hey, like we catch them on Wagasagi stuff, right? So I'm like, why don't we make like a Wagasagi worm? So my boss called it Hippasagi, and it's like kind of, I mean, it might look a little weird on there, but something they haven't seen before.
It's like a opaque, abominable snowman color.
Yeah, it's terrible, but they bite the shit out of that thing.
Can you pull one out and kind of move it, because it looks like it has a couple different levels to it.
Yeah, it's got a vein. It's got like a people's worm vein in it. That's it, and a curly tail. That's another thing I do a lot is throw a curly tail. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that. So that's it right there.
Okay, yeah, there's the vein. So yeah, that people's is, for those who don't know, is kind of like a dirt brown, but is massive on all the Arizona lakes. It's probably one of the top 2 worm colors for some reason on mead. Like,
yeah, people's worm has definitely paid the bills before.
Yeah, that's cool. So you got your own color. So is that only available at the hookup then?
That's a hookup special for sure.
What was the name of it? Hippopotamus?
Hippasagi.
Hippasagi. Okay. Yeah. Megabass does a deal. Do they still not Megabass? Robo does that deal where if you order like a certain amount, you can pretty much make whatever color you want. Do they still do that?
I'm pretty sure they do, yeah.
Because I had a buddy who had he had one of a color poured like that, but now he's like, he uses that color for life now because he was just a one. Yeah, he was just a one-off.
Yeah,
he's got just like boxes full of that color.
Yeah,
he did it for one tournament. He called him and he's like, I want this color. And they're like, you have to order X amount for us to do a production run.
Yeah,
he's not hurting, and he's like, all right, let's do it. So for a 2-day open, he got however many thousand robo worms.
Yeah, I think it's like 200 to 500 bags minimum.
Yeah, and there's what 8 to 10 in each bag.
Yeah, yep.
That's a lot of worms, dude.
That's right.
All right, one more time, how they can get a hold of you to get out on Lake Pleasant.
Yeah, so the Hookup Outfitters is a great place to find us. Also, just on my Instagram, just shoot me a DM, Julius Mazy Fishing, and then we'll talk about it and get you in touch with the hookup. But pretty easy.
Dude, good luck this upcoming week. Get the season kicked off on the right foot. I will be headed down to Florida, actually leaving. Well, this airs Friday, so I'm currently driving down to Florida for the famed Lake Okeechobee. No, there's a Toyota series that's going to hit it for 7 days before us, and then we get to hit it for 5 days of practice, and then the Tuesday night before the tournament, a massive cold front comes in. So vintage Florida.
Just what you want in Florida.
Just what you want. But thanks for jumping on Guide Day. Thanks for taking the time. Greatly appreciate it, Julius.
No problem. Thanks, Matt. See you.
All right. See you. All right. Julius Mazy, good dude, knows his stuff. And if you're in that Phoenix area, definitely a good time to get out on Lake Pleasant or one of the surrounding areas. Really appreciate everybody who's given guide suggestions, either if they are a guide, people have gone out with guides in the past who say this would make for a great show. Like I said, I was trying to make this every other week eventually, but I've gotten so many good suggestions, and there's so many emails and DMs on my Instagram at Matt Pangrak for guides that I'm just kind of slowly trying to work through those, pick and choose. So if I haven't gotten back to you for that, I do have it in a folder, in a list as a potential guest for BTL Guide Day. Greatly appreciate the feedback and really enjoy doing these and learning about all sorts of different types of fisheries and guys who have made their living helping other people catch fish and really understand what's going on the water, coast to coast and across the country. So we'll be back with a recorded show on Monday as I am practicing in Florida. Until then, everybody, that's all we got for Guide Day. We'll see you on Monday.